Welcome, everyone. Sometimes small things change us. A word, a moment, an idea. For me, it was a notebook I found in a coffee shop. It was a rainy afternoon. The kind of rain that falls slowly but never stops. The sky was a deep gray, and the air was cool. The street outside my apartment was wet and shiny. Small puddles had formed near the sidewalk. Every time a car passed, it splashed water onto the road. I pulled my scarf around my neck and began to walk. I did not have an umbrella, so I walked quickly. The cold rain touched my face and hands. After a few minutes, I saw a small coffee shop at the corner. The windows were glowing in the dark street. Through the glass, I could see people talking and laughing. I could see steam rising from their cups. I pushed open the door. A small bell rang above my head. The warm air welcomed me inside. It smelled like roasted coffee beans and fresh bread. It was much nicer than the cold street outside. I took off my wet scarf and looked around. The cafe was almost full. There were students with books spread on the table. There were two women chatting over muffins. There was a man typing on his laptop, his earphones in. Near the big window, I saw a small empty table. But first, I walked to the counter. The smell of coffee was stronger there. The barista smiled at me from behind the counter. "Hi. What can I get started for you?" "Hi, I would like a caramel macchiato, please." "Sure. What size would you like? Small, medium, or large?" "Medium, please." "Would you like anything to eat? Maybe a pastry or a mini cake?" "No, thank you. Just a drink." She smiled and entered my order. I paid, thanked her, and she gave me a small number stand. I carried the number to the table near the window and sat down. Raindrops covered the glass. Outside, the rain tapped softly on the street. A few minutes later, the waitress brought my drink and placed it gently on the table. Steam rose from the cup, carrying the sweet scent of caramel and coffee to my nose. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. I took a deep breath, enjoying the sweet smell. Then I took a small sip and looked around the cafe again. As I set my cup down, I noticed something on the table next to mine. It was a notebook. It was black, with a simple cover. It was not very thick. There was no name or design on the front. It looked like someone had forgotten it. I looked around the coffee shop. No one seemed to be searching for a missing notebook. The man with the laptop was focused on his screen. The students were busy talking about their books. I hesitated. Should I open it? It is not polite to read someone else's private notes. But maybe there was a name inside. Maybe there was a phone number so I could return it. I reached out and pulled the notebook closer. The cover felt smooth and slightly warm, as if someone had just touched it. I opened it slowly. On the first page, there was no name. Instead, there was neat handwriting in blue ink. "If you find this notebook, please read it. It is meant to be shared." I blinked. It was not what I expected. Usually, people write their names inside their notebooks. They do not invite strangers to read them. I turned to the next page. The next page began like a letter. "Dear stranger, if you are reading this, thank you. I am writing these pages for someone I may never meet. Maybe it is you. Maybe you need these words today. Life can be heavy sometimes. We all carry invisible bags on our backs. Some bags are light. Some bags are very heavy. I hope these pages can make your bag a little lighter." I read the words slowly. They felt warm, like sunlight on my face after days of rain. I wanted to know more. The next few pages told a short story. It was about a young man who lived in a small village. The village was next to a wide river. The river was strong and deep. Every year, the young man watched the river change. In spring, the water was fast and loud. In summer, it became slow and calm. In autumn, yellow leaves floated on the surface. In winter, it froze and turned silent. The young man loved the river, but he was afraid to cross it. On the other side was a bigger town. He wanted to go there, but the river scared him. One day, an old fisherman came to the village. He saw the young man watching the river. The fisherman said, "The river is not here to stop you. It is here to teach you." The young man asked, "Teach me what?" The fisherman smiled. "To move. To try. To trust your steps, even when you cannot see the other side yet." The young man thought about this for many days. One morning, he decided to try. He took a small boat and began to cross. The river current was strong. The boat shook under his feet. Still, the young man kept rowing. When he reached the other side, he saw the big town waiting for him, and the old fisherman's words stayed in his heart forever. I closed the notebook for a moment and looked outside the window. The rain was still falling, soft and steady. The story was simple, but it touched me. It made me think of the rivers in my own life, the things I wanted to do, but had been too afraid to start. I thought about how many times I had stayed on one side, just watching. I took another sip of caramel macchiato and opened the notebook again. The notebook had many short writings. Some were just a few lines. "Do not wait for the perfect day. It does not exist. Start now. Your pace is your own. Do not compare your road with someone else's. Some doors are closed because you are not ready yet. Keep learning, and the door will open when the time is right." Every line felt like a tiny seed. It could grow into something in my mind. One story was about a woman and her favorite mug. One day, the mug slipped from her hand and broke into pieces. She was very sad. A friend came and said, "You can fix it with gold." The woman laughed. "Gold? That will make it look strange." Her friend explained, "There is a Japanese art of repairing pottery called kintsugi. The cracks are filled with gold, making the broken parts beautiful." The woman decided to try. When the mug was ready, golden lines were shining in the cracks. It looked more beautiful than before. The notebook ended the story with these words: "You too can be like that mug. Your cracks can shine." When I reached the last pages of the notebook, I noticed something. The final page had only 3 words written: "Your turn now." There was also a pen tucked inside the back cover. I felt a strange feeling, as if the writer of the notebook was sitting across from me, waiting for me to add my words. I thought for a moment. Then I began to write. "Dear stranger, today I found your notebook on a rainy afternoon. Your words warmed me like my caramel macchiato. Thank you for showing me that I can cross my rivers and that broken things can be beautiful. If you read this, know you are not alone. Even if the world feels cold, someone, somewhere, is wishing you well. I am." I signed my name and the date. I closed the notebook gently and placed it back on the table where I had found it. The rain outside had slowed down. The clouds were breaking, and a little sunlight touched the wet street. I finished the last sip of my drink and put on my scarf. I pushed the door open, and a small bell rang above me. When I stepped outside, the air was fresh after the rain. The street smelled of wet earth. I looked back through the window and saw a young woman with a backpack enter the cafe. She noticed the notebook on the table and picked it up. I smiled. As I walked away, I thought about the young man crossing the river. I thought about the mug with golden cracks, and I knew something important. I was ready to take my first step. That was the day I found the stranger's notebook. I entered with wet shoes. I left with a warmer heart. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you liked the story, kindly like, subscribe, comment, and share. Keep going, be kind to yourself, and see you again on Stories by the Window.